Hi everyone, Kieran here. Today I'm going to talk about UML diagrams. So as an engineering manager, you probably spend quite a bit of time helping your team solutionize different problems and figure out how you're going to build different systems and features for the businesses you work in. So one way of doing that is to use UML. It's a great way of helping you to visualize how different parts of a system might interact and how something might actually work. To give a bit of background, when I was an engineer, I was tasked with creating a whole bunch of sequence diagrams to describe how a system that I worked in worked. And I spent countless hours doing that. I was given access to something called Lucidchart. You may have heard of it. And I spent hours dragging and dropping boxes, trying to get these diagrams built and all the information added to them. And I did all of that manually, and it took a lot of time. And then at a later date, I was demoing some of these diagrams to an architect in the business. And he said to me, "Oh, these charts are great. Like, how did you create them?" And I said, "Oh, I just created them in Lucidchart." He said, "Did you create them manually?" And I said, Yes, I did." And he said, "Oh, like, did you not know about something called PlantUML?" And I was like, "No, I've never heard of it." And he said, "Yeah, like, you can use PlantUML and it will draw diagrams for you. You just have to write things in a specific language and it will do it for you." And I was like, "What?" Like, I've just spent hours and hours building all of these diagrams and I've been asked to do. And I could have saved so much time if I had known this. So yeah, I was introduced to that. It blew my mind and was such a game changer in terms of saving time. And yeah, I've used it ever since. So I thought I would do a video just to introduce you all to PlantUML if you haven't heard of it before, and hopefully save you all of the time and avoid you having to go through what I went through. Before we jump into PlantUML, it would be awesome if you could hit subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I will be sharing a whole bunch of content like this and also around other topics in engineering management soon. So yeah, click the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's jump into PlantUML. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to be doing it in Lucidchart, as that's what I tend to use. But also, if you head over to the PlantUML documentation, I'll put a link in the description for this video. There's some information here about what other alternatives you can use, including actually just writing a text file and then running Java commands, which will generate the diagram files for you. But in terms of Lucidchart, what you can do is you can click on this More Shapes option, and then there is a UML section here. And for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to be building a sequence diagram. So I've selected UML sequence. You click Use Selected Shapes, and then you get this section here. You'll notice that there's this Use Markup option, and that is basically where PlantUML comes in. So if you click on Use Markup, it will generate this basic diagram for you, and then you can just go and modify it and add to it as you wish. So I'm going to use the example of authentication. So if we imagined a user just logging into an application. So what needs to happen in terms of the sequence of events and how does that system work? So it might be something like the user interacts with a client-side application. I'm going to use the example of a web app. Yeah, the user would probably enter their username and password and hit submit. And then what happens next? So the web app probably would make some kind of call to a backend service, which might be called the login service. And it would probably be a post request to something like /login with the username and password. That login service would then probably make a request to a query to a database, so some kind of database, you know, query users details. The login service would then probably make some kind of decision about whether it was the details were correct. Check details are correct. And then now you've got alternative paths coming in. So what would happen next is perhaps if the details are correct, so we can do this alt case, and the UML markup that you can use, there's some descriptions here in Lucidchart, but also there's loads of information in the documentation for PlantUML about all of the different ways you can declare things. But yeah, so imagine that authentication has been successful. What happens then? The login service would probably return some kind of success response to the web app. Probably a 200 response of some kind. And then the web app might perform a redirect to user's home screen or something. And then the alternative to that, so let's imagine that authentication is unsuccessful. The login service would return a error response, maybe a 401, something like that, to say that you're unauthenticated, and then the web app might display an error. And then following that, the user may try again or something. So awesome, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's drawn the diagram out for me and saved me a whole bunch of time. So hopefully that's useful to you. You can also do things like activate the different parts of the application in terms of where their interaction starts and finishes. So for example, at this point where login service is starting to do something, I might say here, activate login service, and then once login service is finished its job, I might say deactivate login service like this. It will draw that out for me as well, so yeah, you can see here. But that's basically it. Hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully it will save you a bunch of time. Thanks for watching.